I snuck into a rich woman's house to steal some cash, but I totally lost it when I saw her mansion looked like a garbage dump. As a neat freak thief with six-pack abs, I couldn't help cleaning her house for the whole afternoon. I left a note calling her a total slob, then took 1.95 yen as my hard work fee, right after I picked up my bowl at a noodle shop. A police officer grabbed me by the shoulder from behind. Turns out Ye Zhiqiu not only signed the letter of understanding on the spot, she even asked me out for meals and shopping every day after that. And she always insisted on paying the bill every single time, until that glass of red wine went down my throat. When I opened my eyes the next morning, I finally realized what was going on. I had already been caught in her trap long ago. My name is Zhang Wei. I make a living with my lock-picking skills. But I've never used this skill for proper legal work. Thing is, my old mom back home relies on constant medication. The lousy little money I make every month can't even cover the endless hospital bills. When you're pushed to the edge like that, you don't have the energy to care about decency anymore. The target I picked this time was the luxury apartment complex in the west of the city. Unit 04, 17th floor. The owner is Ye Zhiqiu. She has super fair and smooth skin, and beautiful, delicate facial features. Even her name sounds elegant and aloof, like she's far from ordinary life. I staked her out for 2 whole weeks in advance. Her schedule was as precise as an alarm clock, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., the most typical office worker you can find. This kind of target has lots of valuables and low risk. She was literally the perfect mark for me. Today was the day I made my move. I followed her to the apartment building entrance. I watched her graceful figure turn into the underground garage. I counted silently in my head for a full 10 minutes, to make sure she wouldn't suddenly come back. Then I tugged my cap down a little and walked slowly up the stairs. I slipped my tool into the keyhole smoothly, twisted my wrist lightly a few times. There was a crisp click sound, and the door opened right away. I slipped in sideways and pulled the door shut behind me. The whole set of movements was super smooth. The next second, a strange stench mixed with rotten takeout leftovers, sour mildew smell from unwashed clothes, plus the remaining scent of a certain perfume, forming a super weird mixed smell, slapped me right in the face. I froze at the entryway. I almost thought I had picked the wrong door and accidentally broken into a garbage transfer station. I know a lot of young people have messy homes these days, but I've never seen anyone's house this messy. I, Zhang Wei, think I've seen a lot in my life. But this was a total first for me in all my years on the streets. Clothes were piled up like a mountain on the sofa. I couldn't tell which ones were still clean, and which were already totally dirty. Takeout boxes were stacked wobbly on the coffee table. There was still uneaten food inside them. Some even had mold growing on the surface. I couldn't even find a place to step on the floor. Snack bags, cosmetic bottles and jars, and torn-apart courier boxes were scattered everywhere. I even wondered if she never walks around at home and flies everywhere instead. Is this really the home of that fairy-like Ye Zhiqiu? Where did all her elegance go? Did it get wiped out by the disgusting air in this room? My little bit of professional ethics was instantly wiped out by a strong, physical sense of discomfort. The neat freak part of me simply couldn't stand a place being this dirty and messy. I felt a surge of anger rise in my chest for no reason. This is such a nice apartment. It's bright with great cross ventilation, and the decoration is super fancy. How did she turn it into a total pigsty? Fine, you win. I'll put the stealing on hold for now. If I don't clean this place up to look livable, I can't even find a spot to look for things to steal. If word gets out, I'll embarrass our whole line of work. I dropped my tool bag by the door, rolled up my sleeves, and got to work. I worked straight until 4:30 in the afternoon. I, Zhang Wei, a decent-looking thief who worked out enough over the years to get six-pack abs, was in Ye Zhiqiu's fancy home, sweating like a pig working as a free cleaner. I threw out garbage, wiped the tables, mopped the floor, and sorted out those super expensive-looking clothes into different categories. I hung up the ones that needed hanging, put the ones that needed washing aside for laundry. The dishes soaking in the kitchen sink were almost growing mushrooms already. The cosmetic bottles on the bathroom sink were all tipped over and scattered everywhere. I cursed under my breath the whole time I was working. This was way more tiring than picking 18 locks. When I finally tied up the last garbage bag, it was already dusk outside. Looking at the brand new looking living room in front of me, the floor was so shiny you could see your reflection in it. All the items were neatly arranged, and only the faint lemon scent of detergent was left in the air. I let out a long sigh of relief, and a weird sense of achievement rose in me. Tired, I'm so fucking worn out. I snuck into her bedroom, hoping to find some valuable stuff. Scattered inside the nightstand drawer were some cash and jewelry. I rummaged through everything. There wasn't much cash. 195 yuan in total. Clutching that stack of bills, I finally felt a little bit compensated. Fine, consider this my hard-earned payment, even though this reward is way less than my actual workload deserves. I grabbed a piece of notepaper, wrote her a note in what I thought was cool handwriting. Such a nice home you have. How did you let it get this messy? Even a thief like me can't stand it. I started cleaning right after you left for work. It took me the whole day to finish. I'm literally dead tired. The loose change in the drawer is my payment. If you really don't have time later, remember to hire a part-time cleaner. I slapped that note full of indignation and professional care on the coffee table. I stuffed that 1,095 yuan payment into my pocket, grabbed my own tool bag. Exhausted both physically and mentally, I left this battlefield I'd fought on all day. Ye Zhiqiu dragged her aching, worn-out body to her own front door. Work was extra hectic at the company today. She felt completely drained. The only thing she wanted right now was to kick off her heels and bury herself in the pile of soft clothes to crash. She put the key in the lock, turned it gently. With a crisp click, the door opened. The familiar complex scent of leftover takeout and perfume did not hit her as she expected. Instead, there was a faint wisp of fresh, cool lemon fragrance. Ye Zhiqiu froze mid-step, her foot hanging in the air. Is this my place? It was like she got hit by an electric current. She quickly yanked her foot back. She looked up suspiciously to check the door plate. 1704. No mistake, that's my scruffy little den. Wait, no, it's my lucky precious home. She carefully leaned half her body inside again. Her eyes suddenly went wide. The floor, once covered with all kinds of clutter, was now spotlessly clean. It was even clear enough to reflect her slightly dazed face from extreme shock. The mountain of clothes on the sofa was gone, revealing its original textured fabric underneath. The coffee table, oh my God! She'd almost forgotten that her own coffee table was made of clear glass. She was just like Granny Lou entering the Grandview garden. She tiptoed nervously inside, afraid of dirtying this familiar yet strange clean space. She gasped in a lowered voice, "Oh my God." As far as the eye could see, everything was tidy. Everything was in order. She rushed into the bedroom. The once messy bed was now neatly made. Even the folds of the quilt looked perfectly arranged. Her fingers trembling slightly, she opened the wardrobe door. The clothes inside were sorted by color and season, and hung up perfectly in separate categories. Even her cute cartoon-printed underwear and sexy lace styles were neatly folded in their own storage compartments, smelling like a mix of sunshine and laundry detergent. She let out a shriek and covered her face with her hands. She felt a hot rush shoot from the soles of her feet to the top of her head. When she ran to the kitchen, it got even more unbelievable. The stove was spotless and shiny. The shiny surface of the range hood reflected her slightly dorky, shocked face. The mountain of dishes in the sink was gone. The dish rack was completely clean and empty. Is this the snail girl showing up? Or is it some guy from work who has a crush on me, acting as a snail guy to win my favor? Wait a minute, I only have 2 sets of keys. I have one with me. The other one is with... Just as her brain was about to overload, her gaze fell on the spotlessly clean coffee table in the living room. A sticky note stood out clearly. She walked over and picked up the note. The handwriting on it was actually kind of cool. Such a nice home you have. How did you let it get this messy? Even a thief like me can't stand it. I started cleaning right after you left for work. It took me the whole day to finish. I'm literally dead tired. The over 1,000 yuan in the drawer is my payment. If you really don't have time later, remember to hire a part-time cleaner. Thief! Ye Zhiqiu suddenly snapped back to reality. She rushed into the bedroom. She yanked open the nightstand drawer. The loose change inside was indeed gone. A cold chill shot from her feet to the top of her head. A thief broke into my house. But what the hell is wrong with this thief? He didn't even touch any of the jewelry or electronics. Only took less than 2,000 yuan in cash. Then went the extra mile and did a super thorough deep clean of every corner. He even left a nice note to lecture her. Is there something wrong with how this is going? She suddenly remembered the tiny camera hidden in the potted plant in the living room. She scrambled to grab her phone to pull up the footage. Fast forward again. In the footage, a tall, well-built man showed up shortly after she left and picked the door lock like a pro. Ye Zhiqiu's heart skipped a beat.
Here we go.
as soon as the man walked in. He had the exact same reaction she did earlier. He was obviously stunned. The camera even caught clearly the brief look of shock on his face and a weird, unnameable sense of despair. Then the most ridiculous thing happened. He didn't start rummaging for valuables right away. Instead, he stood there with his hands on his hips, taking a deep breath, staring at her pigsty of a place. Then he looked like he'd made up his mind. He set his small bag by the door, and then the camera captured what was basically a live miracle of the housekeeping industry, taking out trash, wiping tables, mopping floors, sorting clothes. His moves were super efficient, and super thorough too. Especially when she saw the man in the footage frowning hard, but still carefully scrubbing all the small personal items, including the lace underwear she'd left lying around. Ye Zhiqiu's face flushed bright red all the way to her ears. This is so embarrassing, oh my god. But weirdly enough, as she stared at the sweaty figure of the strange man on the screen, 1 second he was making a super disgusted face at a tough stain. The next he was nodding slightly. After cleaning a hard-to-reach dirty spot, she couldn't help but snort a laugh. But a weird, fuzzy little feeling bubbled up in her chest. The way he focused on doing housework. His side profile had sharp, strong features. Every movement showed off his toned muscles, especially when he bent over sometimes. You could see the faint outline of his abs. Stop it! What are you even daydreaming about? He's a thief. The last frame of the security footage froze on. The moment the man turned to leave holding the cash. Ye Zhiqiu curled up on the couch clutching her phone. Her heart was beating way too fast. It was like someone hit the replay button in her head. It kept replaying over and over against her will. That hot, good-looking, weirdly cleaning-obsessed man had barged into her life in the most ridiculous way possible. The more she thought about it, the hotter her face felt. The more she replayed it, the harder her heart pounded. After a long while, click. She took a deep breath, trying her best to calm down her racing heart and cool down her burning face. Then she made up her mind. Her pale, slender fingers trembled a little as she picked up her phone and unlocked it. There was a faint hint of embarrassment and hidden excitement in her voice. Hello, is this 110? I want to report a crime. A really weird thief broke into my house after I left Ye Zhiqiu's place. The street was already covered in dark. I wandered over to the snack street. I had over 1,000 yuan in my pocket, but it felt so heavy it was pulling my pants down. It wasn't the weight of the cash. It was the weird, heavy feeling in my chest. This job was a total loss. I did all that work for nothing. If word gets out, every other thief in the business is going to laugh their ass off. I was exhausted both physically and mentally, and my stomach was growling so bad it was touching my spine. I spotted that familiar Lao Chen's noodle shop on the corner. My legs moved before my brain did. I walked right in. Boss, 1 big bowl of beef noodles. Extra meat, extra egg. I slapped the money on the greasy tabletop. My voice sounded totally worn out from cleaning all day. Old Chen replied like he always does. Got it. Hey, Zhang Wei. You look like you're dead tired today. I mumbled a hum as a reply, found a seat in the corner and slumped down. The rich smell of bone broth filled the shop, mixed with that cozy street food vibe. That's when I finally felt like I was back to reality. After surviving that war zone that was Ye Zhiqiu's place, the noodles came to me really fast. I grabbed my chopsticks and stirred them, blowing on them to cool down, about to take a bite. Right at that moment, several people in police uniforms burst into the shop all of a sudden. Freeze! Police! Before I could even process what was happening, my arms were wrenched behind my back, a sharp click sound. Cold handcuffs clicked shut around my wrists. The noodle hanging by my mouth plopped back into the bowl, splashing a few drops of oil. All the diners in the noodle shop were stunned, and all eyes turned to me at once. My mind buzzed loudly and went completely blank in an instant. I knew getting caught in this line of work was only a matter of time. After all, if you hang around the river long enough, your shoes are bound to get wet sooner or later. But why did it have to come so damn fast? Security cameras. Yeah, it must be the security cameras. Ye Zhiqiu must have hidden secret cameras in her apartment. Shit, I was too busy burying my head in cleaning. How could I throw the most important professional instinct of mine completely out the window? What's your name? A young cop questioned me with a stern face. Zhao. Zhang Wei. I hung my head low, my face burning with shame. It wasn't because I got caught. It was purely the way I got caught. That was so fucking embarrassing. This afternoon. Did you break into room 1704 of Li Jingyuan Community? The cop kept pressing me for answers. Yes. I admitted it. The cameras probably caught everything clear as day. They got me red-handed. There's no point in denying it. Take him away. 2 cops hauled me out of the noodle shop and shoved me into the police car. Through the car window, I saw passers-by outside pointing and whispering about me, and old Chen's face looking both shocked and regretful. It's over, I'm totally screwed this time. Burglary, even though the amount involved isn't that big, it's still enough to get me in a whole lot of trouble. My mom's still in the hospital waiting for money for treatment. I'm such a useless loser, sitting in the interrogation room where the harsh lights hurt my eyes. I told them the full context of the whole incident, and confessed everything honestly, including how I picked the lock to get in, how I was shocked speechless by the scene in front of me, how I somehow ended up doing a full deep clean out of nowhere, how I took that 1,895 yuan as a hard work fee, and even left a note calling her a slob. The cop in charge of taking my statement had the most wild and varied expression on his face. He clearly wanted to laugh, but forced himself to hold it in. Zhang Wei, does this count as you acting bravely for a just cause? On a sudden impulse in the middle of a theft? Wait, no, doing a favor for others, I replied with a bitter look on my face. Officer, I accept my fate. I just couldn't help myself. I can't stand seeing places that messy. I didn't spend a single cent of the money. It's still right in my pocket. I'll return every last bit of it. I'll accept whatever punishment I get. After all the procedures were completed, I was temporarily held in a detention cell, lying on the rock-hard plank bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. My thoughts were all tangled up inside. I felt every possible emotion mixed together. The next morning, I was sitting there mulling over my life choices when a correctional officer walked over. Zhang Wei, come out for a minute. I thought they were going to interrogate me again, so I hung my head and followed him out. I never could have guessed that in the reception room, besides the uniformed officers, there was also a woman standing there. In the air of the reception room, there was an indescribable, subtle tension floating around. I tucked my head down against my chest, only catching from the corner of my eye that soft, gentle silhouette. Ye Zhiqiu was wearing a light blue dress that day, her dark, long hair falling smoothly over her shoulders. She was standing next to a police officer at that moment, with a hint of awkwardness in her features, but there was also a faint trace of some unnameable excitement in her expression. Zhang Wei, right? An older police officer spoke first, after our verification work, and communication with Ms. Ye Zhiqiu herself. We have a few matters that we need to explain clearly to you. My heart clenched hard in my chest. I held my breath waiting for the final sentence. First of all, according to our local relevant regulations, the minimum amount for a theft case to be filed as a criminal case is usually set at the 2,000 yuan mark. The officer paused for a moment, his gaze first passing over me, then turning to Ye Zhiqiu. The cash you took that day, Ms. Ye has confirmed, totaled 1,895 yuan. This amount really hasn't reached the threshold for filing a criminal case. Right after that, the officer's voice softened noticeably. Ms. Ye Zhiqiu, after fully understanding the whole course of events, has voluntarily submitted a written forgiveness document to us, stating that she will not pursue any responsibility for your actions. I jerked my head up immediately when I heard that. I looked at Ye Zhiqiu with total disbelief. She just happened to be sneaking a glance my way too. Our eyes met abruptly in midair. She was like a startled little deer. She quickly looked away to somewhere else. The weirdest part is, her fair cheeks then actually flushed a suspicious shade of pink. I pried open the door lock of Ye Zhiqiu's home and stole over 1,000 yuan in cash from her. Not only did she not press charges, she even handed over a written pardon. Finally, the officer cleared his throat, trying hard to keep a serious expression on his face. What you did? While it already counts as unlawful trespass of another person's home, and you had clear subjective intent to steal, but during the actual process of your action, the situation is indeed quite special. After taking everything into consideration, this is your first offense, and your attitude to admit mistakes is very sincere. The amount involved did not meet the threshold for filing a case, plus you have obtained full forgiveness from the victim. After discussion, we have made the final decision. For your behavior this time, we will not open a criminal investigation. No case will be filed. I'm off the hook. This huge surprise hit me right out of nowhere. It made me a little dizzy and disoriented. But the officer's tone suddenly took a turn. The law is no joke. Unlawfully entering another person's home is definitely an illegal act without a doubt. Considering the special nature of your behavior this time, as well as the potential disturbance it caused to public social order, we finally decided to sentence you to 15 days of administrative detention. You will also receive necessary legal education. We hope you can reflect deeply on this. In the future, stand straight and be an honest and upright person. 15 days of detention compared to the possible prison sentence I was facing. It was almost like a heavy sentence was directly commuted to a lenient punishment. It's so light I feel like I could float to the sky. I accept the punishment. I will definitely reflect properly. Thank you to the government. Thank you, officers. I nodded hurriedly. The huge stone that had been hanging in my chest finally landed steadily back in place. After all the procedures were completed, I followed the guard towards the door, getting ready to report to the detention center. The moment I passed by Ye Zhiqiu, I still couldn't hold back and stopped in my tracks. I glanced at her with all sorts of mixed feelings. Thank you so much, Monsieur. I fumbled to squeeze out these words. I really had no idea what kind of expression to use to face the victim, breaking into a house to steal, and ending up with no case filed against me, plus a free 15-day legal education package. That includes free room and board. My experience is really one of a kind, that's for sure. Ye Zhiqiu lifted her face. The pink flush on her cheeks hadn't completely faded yet. She quickly lowered her voice and said, "Actually, I should be the one thanking you. You tidied up my house so nicely. It's never been that neat before." Her voice got lower and lower, as quiet as a mosquito's buzz. The guard beside us coughed dryly at the right time. I hurried to follow right away, but my heart felt like a spice rack had been knocked over, all sorts of flavors mixed up together. What on earth is wrong with this woman's way of thinking? The 15 days of detention passed by in the blink of an eye. Every day, besides studying laws and regulations, I spent all the rest of the time reflecting on my life. I finally figured it out completely. I can never touch these crooked tricks ever again. I got extremely lucky this time. What will happen next time? No one can say for sure, even just for my sick mom lying in the hospital bed. I have to find a proper and honest job. The moment I stepped out of the detention center gate, the sunlight outside was so bright it stung my eyes. I took a deep breath of free air, just as I was ready to turn a new page in my life. Who would have thought right when I walked to the street corner? A snow-white Porsche, then, pulled up silently right next to me. The window rolled down slowly, revealing Ye Zhiqiu's delicately made up and slightly flushed pretty face. "Zhang Wei, you're out." I froze right where I stood. The alarm bells in my head went off wildly right away. What is this girl up to? Is something wrong, Miss Ye? The case is already closed, right? Why is she coming to find me now? Ye Zhiqiu bit her lower lip, as if she had made a very big decision. To celebrate you regaining your freedom, let me treat you to a meal, let's just say. It's my way of thanking you for the other day. When you helped me do a full deep clean, my eyes instantly went wide open. I almost thought there was something wrong with my ears. The victim is offering to treat the perpetrator to dinner, as a thank you for helping her tidy up the house that was broken into illegally. Miss Bai, this doesn't seem very appropriate, does it? Earlier Oh, come on, let's just let that old stuff go. I already issued the letter of understanding. So, are you gonna do me this honor or not? Her tone had a sort of coquettish stubbornness to it, but her eyes were full of expectation. There was even a trace of unshakable certainty that made it impossible for anyone to turn her down. I looked at how she was acting and felt like I'd been bewitched. I nodded my head almost involuntarily. Fine, I guess. Feeling really awkward, I pulled open the passenger door and got in. The car was filled with that same fresh lemon scent that I later smelled in her house, mixed with the nice perfume she was wearing. The seats were soft. Everything around felt cozy and comfortable, but it made me fidget even more. A guy like me who just got out of jail, sitting here with a fancy car and a pretty girl. It was just way too out of place. Ye Zhiqiu seemed a little tense too, gripping the steering wheel tightly with both hands, focused on driving. Then she quickly shot a glance from the corner of her eye over in my direction. Finally, the car pulled up in front of a private restaurant that looked really high-end and tasteful. The whole area was quiet and elegant. The private room was even more exquisite and classy. It was nothing like the small, down-to-earth restaurants I usually hang out at on a daily basis. They were like two completely different worlds. While I was flipping through the menu, her eyes barely even glanced at the price column, and she ordered several dishes smoothly without hesitation. "Do you have any dietary restrictions?" I answered really briefly. "No." "Anything is fine." At that moment, I didn't have any extra mind to think about the dishes. My head was full of how weird this whole situation was. Once all the dishes were served one after another, there was only the two of us left in the private room. That subtle awkwardness in the air got even stronger. The whole table of delicious food was beautifully plated. They looked and smelled amazing. But when I ate them, they tasted like wax. Miss Ye, why are you helping me? And why are you treating me to this meal? After all, Those two words got to the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't get them out in the end. But she knew exactly what I meant. A faint blush rose on both of Ye Zhiqiu's cheeks. She poked at the rice in her bowl off and on, with the tip of her chopsticks. Her voice was really low. I was really mad at first, and I was really scared too. But then I saw the security footage, and I thought you were such a weird guy. You don't really seem like a bad person. She paused for a moment and lifted her face, looking at me with her bright, shiny eyes. Have you ever seen a thief who spends an entire day cleaning the house of the owner he stole from, and even leaves a note to lecture people afterwards? Do you have any idea when you were mopping the floor, gritting your teeth at those tough stains? And when you were folding my underwear into categories, that annoyed yet serious look on your face was so funny. My face instantly felt like it was on fire. I turned red from the base of my neck all the way to my forehead. She really did watch all the security footage, down to every tiny little detail. God, that was so fucking embarrassing. That was just my OCD acting up. I was just about to say something else, when Ye Zhiqiu suddenly broke into a smile. I know that's why I think you're special, duh. She put a bite of food into my bowl with her chopsticks. Her tone got a lot more casual. Come to think of it, I should thank you, actually. When I got home and pushed the door open that day, that tidiness made me feel like my whole recent life had suddenly gotten so much brighter. Also, I asked someone to look into your situation, and found out your mom is in the hospital, and you're short on cash right now, so my heart suddenly skipped a beat, and I stared at her warily. She investigated me. Don't overthink this, okay? I don't have any other ulterior motives. I just wanted to help you out. The medical bills for your mom, I already put a sum of money down in advance. You don't have to worry about that for now. What? She paid my mom's medical bills. These words hit me like an unexpected bomb and blew my mind completely blank. No way, I can't take this money. We're not relatives or close friends. Besides, I blurted it out almost without even thinking. Ye Zhiqiu cut me off right away. She leaned forward slightly, moving a little closer to me. The warm, perfume-scented breath almost brushed against my cheek. There was a sticky, ambiguous vibe in her voice. I already told you it's a loan. It's not a free gift. If you feel bad about taking it, you can pay me back slowly. How do I pay you back? I almost said out loud that I can't even find a proper job anywhere. But when I looked up, I met her eyes right in front of me. Her eyes were glistening with moisture, clearly reflecting how flustered I looked at that moment. That's super easy. You can keep cleaning my apartment to pay off the debt, yeah? Your cleaning skills. I've watched you work multiple times, and I'm super satisfied. I'll pay you 1,000 yuan per visit, what do you say? 1,000 per visit. That price is way higher than the average market rate, and what's more, the phrase clean my apartment, coming out of her lips, paired with how close we were and the look in her eyes, changed the entire meaning completely. It didn't sound like she was talking about simple manual labor at all. My heart started beating like crazy out of my control. My Adam's apple bobbed up and down on its own. It felt like there were countless tiny electric currents zipping silently through the air. The temperature in the private room felt like it had risen a few degrees. What exactly do you mean by that? She leaned back against the chair back, picked up her wine glass and swirled it gently. Exactly what it sounds like, duh. But her gaze was still fixed firmly on me. After that awkward thank you dinner, it felt like a weird invisible string was tying Ye Zhiqiu and I together. Every 3 or 4 days, I'd get a message from her right on time. The content was always the same, but her tone was super confident and unapologetic. Zhang Wei, my place is messy again. Come clean it up right now. There was always a money transfer attached at the end of the message. Exactly 1,000 won. Every time I'd tell myself in my head, this is just paying off my debt. It's a proper job. But every time I turn the key to open the door of apartment 1704 and face the mess that's not as bad as the first time, but still completely disorganized, I get this weird, indescribable, awkward feeling in my chest. What even is my identity here? A personal cleaner? Or some sort of fantasy toy for her weird fetish? When I'm cleaning, sometimes Ye Zhiqiu is home. Sometimes she's not. When she is home, she curls up deep in the sofa, with a laptop on her lap doing work, or binging TV shows. Every once in a while, she'll look away from the screen and follow my movements with her eyes. That gaze isn't like a supervisor checking work. It's more like some kind of admiring observation. It makes my skin crawl so bad. I even slow down my mopping speed by a lot. Once I was fighting with a stubborn, old grease stain on the kitchen stove. She shuffled over in cotton slippers. Zhang Wei, can you do anything besides clean? I'm hungry. I'm sick of ordering takeout. I didn't even lift my eyes and snapped at her annoyedly. If you're sick of takeout, learn to cook yourself. But I don't know how. Her voice had a cute, whiny, coquettish tone to it. You're so good at doing chores. You must be good at cooking too, right? Show me what you got. I don't know if I was provoked by her tone, or if I just wanted to prove something deep down. I somehow put down the rag in my hand like I was possessed. Washed my hands and pulled open her fridge door. It was fully stocked with ingredients, probably bought not long ago. What do you want to eat? I tied on an apron, my tone stiff and gruff. Whatever you make is fine, I'll eat anything. That day I used the ready ingredients in the fridge to make a simple spread. 3 dishes and 1 soup, braised pork ribs, steamed base, garlic broccoli, plus a bowl of tomato egg drop soup. All were ordinary home-cooked dishes, but I nailed the heat and seasoning perfectly. When I served the food on the table, Ye Zhiqiu took just 1 bite of the ribs, and her eyes crinkled into 2 little crescents. Zhang Wei, this is so good. She ate like a total tornado, not caring about her image at all, shoveling food into her mouth non-stop, mumbling compliments while chewing. Way better than what 5-star hotel chefs make. Your cooking skills are absolutely amazing. Watching her gobble down the food so happily, the reluctance in my heart somehow faded a little. I even felt a faint, subtle sense of accomplishment. Ever since that meal, Ye Zhiqiu swapped chores with me more and more often, and the focus clearly shifted from cleaning and tidying up to cooking. Until one day, I just finished cleaning the area she assigned me, and was about to head to the kitchen when she made me switch to the living room instead. Zhang Wei, I want to talk to you about something. Her voice was laced with a smile. Look, you're super good at cleaning, and your cooking hits exactly my taste buds. As for me, I just happen to need a reliable person to handle daily stuff. You don't have to do odd jobs anymore. How about being my full-time live-in nanny instead? Full-time live-in. Yep, 10,000 yuan a month, free room and board. And I'll cover all your mom's medical expenses, all the way until she fully recovers. Come on, there's no way you'd turn down this offer, right? A monthly salary of over 10,000, full coverage of my mom's medical bills. This offer is way better than just generous. It's literally a pie falling from the sky. Dead on target, right filling the biggest need I have right now. I don't even have any room to say no, and I don't want to say no at all. Okay, so I packed my bags real quick and officially moved into the guest room at Ye Zhiqiu's place. My status went from temporary cleaner directly promoted to live-in nanny. My work duties are exactly what she said, cleaning and cooking, and running small errands for her once in a while. When it comes to paying me, she's unbelievably generous. She even advanced me my first month's salary in advance and told me to send it to my family first. But the moment I moved into Ye Zhiqiu's house, the initial joy of getting this windfall was soon replaced by growing torment day by day. The source of this torment is Ye Zhiqiu herself. It's like she completely let herself go, or rather in front of me, she completely dropped all her pretenses. Her home clothes got more and more bold and casual. Those silk slip nightdresses became almost her daily go-to outfit. The fabric is as thin as a cicada's wing, clinging tightly to her curvy, well-proportioned figure. I never got a good look at her before. Now that we live under the same roof, I just realized how insanely good her figure is. She's like a wild rose growing freely, bright and flamboyant, exuding an alluring fragrance all over. As for me, the so-called nanny, day after day under this extreme visual impact, I struggled to hold on to my remaining sanity. I kept warning myself, Zhang Wei, you're here to work. She's your employer who pays your salary. She's the one covering your mom's medical bills. Don't you dare have any inappropriate thoughts. So I tried my best to act as a qualified nanny who sees and hears nothing. When she walks past me in skimpy clothes, I immediately lower my head and focus on wiping the table. When she bends down to pick something up, showing that attractive curve, I turn around immediately to check the stove flame size. But Ye Zhiqiu seemed dead set on testing the limit of my self-control, and loved hopping back and forth across my bottom line. Time passed as I, the awkward live-in nanny, and her totally carefree and relaxed self, quietly flipped through the pages of the calendar. One weekend afternoon, she changed clothes and walked out of the bedroom. Zhang Wei, let's go. Come out with me for a bit. Where to? To the movies. My coworker gave me tickets. It'd be a waste not to use them. We went all the way to the cinema, picked up the tickets and went in. Found our seats and sat down, until the lights went down. The eerie, creepy opening soundtrack started playing slowly. I only realized it much later. This is a fucking horror movie. I turned my head subconsciously and glanced at Ye Zhiqiu next to me. The dim light from the screen shone on her face, flickering on and off. The movie moved forward really fast, with constant jump scare scenes one after another. Every time a ghost popped up on the screen, or the sound effect suddenly blared, Ye Zhiqiu would jolt hard and suck in a cold breath under her breath. Less than 20 minutes into the movie, she had unconsciously moved from her own seat over to my side. Her arm was pressed tightly against mine, sending little trembles through to me. Hey, you okay? No. I'm fine. She's acting tough, but her voice is clearly trembling. Just a little cold. The AC is indeed set really low, but my gut says she's mostly just scared. Right after that, another super gory frame flashed by. Along with the character's shrill screams, Ye Zhiqiu let out a small yelp and flinched hard towards me and buried her face right in my chest. I caught a soft, sweet, warm body completely off guard. That nice scent on her, mixed with the sickly sweet smell of movie theater popcorn, rushed straight up my nose. My body froze instantly, my arms hanging in midair. I had no idea where to put them. My mind went totally blank. All I could feel was this trembling, soft body in my arms. The feeling was so vivid it was scary. If you're scared, stop watching. And no, the tickets can't go to waste. She pressed her face into my chest and mumbled a reply, but didn't make any move to pull away from me at all. So for the rest of the movie, she basically curled up in my arms the whole time. I basically turned into a giant human body pillow. I didn't dare move an inch. I finally rested my arms loosely around her back, super carefully, scared I'd touch something I shouldn't. The plot on the screen, I didn't catch a single frame of it. All my senses were completely occupied by the woman in my arms. Her hair brushed my chin. It tickled a little. Her breath warmed my skin through the fabric. Her soft body pressed close to mine. This is literally the sweetest torture in the world. The end credits lights suddenly turned on. She acted like she got burned and jumped out of my arms right away. Her face was bright red. Let's go? She stood up first and practically ran away in embarrassment. I took a deep breath to calm down the restless feeling in my chest and followed her. On the way home, there was a weirdly awkward silence in the car. She was focused on driving, and I stared out the window at the night scenery speeding past. But the soft feeling of her in my arms just now, and my thumping heart just wouldn't fade for ages. I thought that would be the end of that whole thing. But in the middle of the night, I was half asleep, when someone knocked softly on my bedroom door. Zhang Wei? Zhang Wei? Are you asleep? Ye Zhiqiu's voice came from outside the door, with a faint hint of timidity in it. I dragged myself out of bed to open the door. She was wearing that almost see-through silk nightgown, with a thin cardigan thrown over it casually, holding a pillow to her chest. Standing barefoot at the door, her eyes were a little red, looking exactly like a scared little rabbit. I'm kinda scared. Those scenes from the movie keep playing in my head, I can't sleep. Can I crash on your floor? Looking at her all pitiful like that, and glancing at her outfit that's basically nothing. My temples were throbbing like crazy, letting her sleep on my floor. That's so inappropriate. A single man and woman alone. It's a total recipe for trouble. But she's my boss, after all.
The one who pays my salary?
And covers my mom's medical bills. She's this scared right now. It's just such a small favor she's asking for. I took a deep breath. You take the bed, I'll sleep on the floor. Oh no, you can't do that. Of course I can, I said firmly, and started pulling extra bedding out of the closet already. You're my employer. I can't let my employer sleep on the floor. She watched me quietly, as I quickly got the floor bed ready. Well, thanks then, she finally mumbled in a low voice, and quietly climbed onto my bed. I turned off the overhead light, leaving only the dim yellow bedside lamp on, then quickly got into the floor bed, facing away from the bed, with my eyes squeezed shut. Good night, Zhang Wei. Her voice drifted over from the bed, with a tiny little nasal hint at the end. Good night. The bedroom fell quiet again. Only the sound of 2 soft breaths, taking turns in the silence. I could even pick up the little sounds of her tossing and turning in bed. Unexpectedly, those rustling sounds, in the silent night, were amplified several times without me noticing. I don't know how long I tossed and turned. I finally fell under the mix of physical exhaustion and frayed, tense nerves, and drifted off into a deep sleep. In my dream, I was transported back to my childhood, holding the old orange tabby we'd had for years in my arms. He was all fuzzy and warm to the touch, and carried the faint scent of sun-warmed fur. He nuzzled into a comfy spot in the crook of my arm. Purring loudly, totally content, I subconsciously tightened my hold on him, pulling that soft, warm little body closer into my chest. I rubbed my cheek against his fuzzy little head. A sense of peace and contentment I'd never felt before wrapped around me completely. This dream was so perfect. After we spent that night in the same room, the unspoken line between Ye Zhiqiu and I grew even more blurry and ambiguous. It was like she'd found some fun new pastime. She started asking me to go out with her on weekends way more often. She called it experiencing life, said she couldn't stay cooped up at home all the time. But under every little outing we went on, there was this quiet, lingering undercurrent of unspoken, undeniable tension. When we went to art exhibitions, she'd wear a tight bodycon dress, and when I bent down to read an exhibit label, she'd lean down at just the right angle. When we went to newly opened luxury stores, when she tried on those absurdly expensive dresses, she'd always pull back the fitting room curtain a little. Zhang Wei, does this look good? All these back-to-back little dates, plus all the small daily moments we shared under the same roof, made me see more than just the surface of who she was. When she was in a good mood, she'd tell me little bits and pieces about her life. Slowly, I put together the full story of her background. She was a typical rich girl. Her dad had run a pretty large company back in the day. They were very well off, but fate had other plans. Her dad got diagnosed with a terminal illness a few years ago. Before he passed, for whatever reason, he sold off most of the company's shares, leaving only enough money for her and her mom to live comfortably for the rest of their lives. Her mom took the loss really hard. Now she travels all over the country to get her mind off things, and almost never comes home. As for Ye Zhiqiu, she was already sick of all the fancy, flashy parties and socialite gatherings. They all felt totally meaningless to her, so she got a random low-stress admin job just to pass the time. Why didn't you just hire a part-time cleaner before, or even a full-time nanny? I finally asked the question that had been sitting at the back of my mind for ages. With how much money she had, hiring a professional housekeeper would be so easy. Why would she let her place get that messy? And why would she hire some random thief like me to clean it? When she heard that question, Ye Zhiqiu, who was putting the lilies I just bought into a vase, paused for a split second. She turned her face to me and gave a little smile. People I hire from outside aren't nearly as thoughtful as you are. There was a hint of self-deprecation in that smile, mixed with something else I couldn't quite place. Her tone was soft and airy. Her eyes drifted slowly across my face. She never did give me a real answer. Days passed, caught between my awkwardness as a live-in housekeeper and Ye Zhiqiu's increasingly obvious advances. Until the day of my birthday, I'd almost completely forgotten about it myself. Until I got a birthday text from my mom early that morning. I was feeling a little twinge of sadness when Ye Zhiqiu sidled up to me all mysterious. Zhang Wei, the weather's so nice today. Don't stay cooped up inside. Come hang out with me. Before I could even get a single word out, she dragged me right out the door. We hung out from the crack of dawn right until the sun went down. It was like she'd planned out a perfect itinerary in advance. It was packed full of things to do, but every little detail was so thoughtful. We went to the tech exhibition I'd been dying to go to, but could never afford tickets for. Then we had an absurdly fancy lunch at the top floor revolving restaurant. In the afternoon, she even dragged me into the arcade I was obsessed with as a kid. She was clumsy and cute when she held the shooting game gun, and she had zero rhythm on the drum machine, but she laughed louder and brighter than anyone else, just like a high school girl who'd skipped class to hang out. The sun started to set. My hands were full of tons of bags. Almost all of them were her shopping hauls. My legs were so sore they felt like they weren't even mine. What do you want for dinner? My treat, you pick the restaurant. Looking at the city lights flickering on one by one in front of me, a weird mix of tiredness and some strange longing welled up in my chest at the same time. How about we go home for dinner tonight? I'll cook for you. Ye Zhiqiu froze for a second. Then her eyes crinkled up like two little crescent moons. Sure, let's eat at home. Let's head to the supermarket to buy groceries. We turned into the nearby supermarket. She pushed the shopping cart, like a kid who's curious about everything around her. She tossed every interesting ingredient she spotted into the cart. Can you cook this? What about that one? I want to eat your signature dishes. Finally, we carried several bulging bags of groceries back to apartment 1704. In the kitchen, I tied on my apron and immediately got busy working at the stove. For once, she didn't curl up on the sofa today. Instead, she dragged a high stool to sit by the kitchen island. She rested her chin on both hands and quietly watched me wash, chop, stir-fry, and season the food. I was completely focused on the cooking in front of me. All she could pick up with her ears was the steady rhythm of the knife hitting the cutting board, the sizzling sound coming from the oil in the wok, and my occasional words. Pass me that plate, please. Sure. Hand me a scallion, please. Coming right up. She was like an eager little bee, helping me with all the small tasks. Warm yellow light draped down over the room. The whole space was filled with an unprecedented sense of warmth and peace. When the last soup was ready and taken off the stove, the dining table was already fully laid out with 9 great-looking, delicious dishes. Ye Zhiqiu somehow pulled out a bottle of obviously expensive red wine out of nowhere. She opened the bottle cap skillfully and poured the wine into the decanter. She poured me a glass of wine with a smile, then turned around and filled a full glass for herself. Great work, chef. Looking at this table full of food, then at her pretty, smiling face across from me, a corner of my heart felt like it was soaked in warm water, completely soft and melted. This feeling of being at home is something I haven't had for so long. But just as I picked up my chopsticks, ready to enjoy this extra special birthday feast, Ye Zhiqiu reached out and gently held my wrist. Her eyes were sparkling with mischievous yet expectant light. There's still one super important step left. The birthday gift. I froze on the spot. But we already did so much today. None of that counts, okay? She cut me off mid-sentence, stood up straight, pulled me over to the living room sofa, and pushed me to sit down. Sit right here and close your eyes. No peeking. Her tone had a stubborn, no-nonsense vibe to it. I closed my eyes just like she said. I was both curious and amused inside. I had no idea what this young lady was planning to pull this time. I heard the sound of her light footsteps, walking towards the bedroom. Then came the soft sound of the bedroom door closing. Seconds ticked by slowly. The living room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. What on earth was she doing in there? Just when I almost couldn't hold back from opening my eyes to peek, a faint jingle of jade ornaments drifted over. It came with a light, elegant scent, totally different from the perfume she usually wears. You can open your eyes now, her voice rang out, with a faint, hard-to-notice hint of nervousness and shyness. The moment I slowly opened my eyelids, my breath caught in my throat instantly. My heart skipped a whole beat. In the soft lamplight of the living room, Ye Zhiqiu was standing there quietly. She had actually changed into an extremely gorgeous hanfu. It was a sky-blue, chest-high rukun, made of top-quality silk, embroidered with fine hidden patterns of interlocking lotus. Her wide sleeves hung down like clouds. The skirt hem flowed to the floor like running water. Her jet-black long hair was tied into an elegant bun, a few strands of hair falling beside her cheeks. It made her skin look even fairer than snow. her features as delicate as if painted by an artist. Usually she was either charming or cute, but right now she looked like a maiden stepping right out of an ancient painting. Elegant and otherworldly, she was surrounded by an ethereal aura that felt totally above all ordinary worldly things. Seeing my dazed look, she pursed her lips and smiled softly. A faint blush spread across her cheeks. Zhang Wei. Happy birthday. I'll dance for you, okay? Consider it your birthday gift. After she said that, she didn't even give me time to react. She just slightly lowered her head, her delicate fingers forming an elegant traditional hand gesture. The rhythm of ancient music slowly filled the room. Her body also slowly started to move gracefully along with it. Her water sleeves flew out like floating clouds, like soft mist and thin haze. Her skirt swayed out in ripples, like a scene from a dream or fantasy. Her dance steps weren't exactly very skilled or practiced. Some turns even looked a little clumsy, but the fully focused concentration she had, the unreserved effort she put into it, along with the soft hidden affection in her eyes as she moved. But it is far more impactful than any flawless, superb dancing skills. When she spins around, her black hair and robe sleeves flutter together. She looks just like a lotus orchid under the moonlight, blooming at its most glorious peak. When she glances back, her eyes hold unspoken feelings. They are filled with starlight and the reflection of me, completely dazed and lost in thought. Delicacies and fine wine are laid out beside us. And there is a beauty in Hanfu, dancing gracefully only for me. At this moment, thieves, odd job workers, employers, all barriers of identity fade away completely. I sink into the sofa, staring at this dreamlike scene in front of me. An extremely unrealistic, yet surprisingly intense illusion rises in my chest. Who am I, Zhang Wei, to deserve this? I feel like I am enjoying the blessings of an emperor, and this stunning imperial concubine in front of me has only fixed her eyes on me the whole time. The dance ends when she bends slightly and lifts her eyes shyly. The living room falls silent again, leaving only our slightly rapid breathing and the unspoken ambiguous tension that has already spread all through the air. She stands still on the spot, her cheeks flushed bright red, her chest rising and falling gently. She looks at me with a bit of boldness, mixed with a hint of satisfaction. She asks softly, "Hey, do you like it?" Looking at this fairy-like woman in front of me, staring at me with glistening eyes, my heart is pounding like crazy in my chest. I like it. My voice is so hoarse I barely recognize it. I like it so much. Ye Zhiqiu's eyes light up immediately, as if thousands of stars have fallen into her eyes. The flush on her cheeks grows even deeper. She walks slowly over and sits across from me. Let's start eating then. Try chef, he's cooking. Okay. Let's eat. I lift my glass and clink it gently against hers. That crisp clinking sound is like a silent signal. Kicking off this definitely unusual night. The dishes are really delicious. I poured all my effort into making them. Every dish is my best signature recipe. We eat while chatting about the fun things we did at the exhibition and arcade earlier. The atmosphere at the table is relaxed and pleasant. She keeps refilling my wine glass. Those beautiful eyes lit by the lamp and wine glow are bright and sparkling, totally mesmerizing. The red wine tastes mellow when you sip it, with a fruity, woody aroma. I have always had a high alcohol tolerance. I can easily drink 1 or 2 gin of baijiu on normal days. But for some reason, after just a few glasses of red wine tonight, an overwhelming wave of drunkenness suddenly rushes up from my stomach. My head starts to feel heavy and fuzzy, and my vision is covered with a layer of haze. Ye Zhiqiu's smiling face across the table looks like it is covered with a soft light filter. So beautiful it does not seem real. It feels like someone lit a fire inside me, making my mouth go dry. My heartbeat is completely out of control. I shake my head, trying to make myself a little more sober, but I only feel the dizziness getting worse. What's wrong, Zhang Wei? Did you drink too much? Ye Zhiqiu's voice is full of concern. She leans a little closer, her warm breath brushing against my ear. I lift my eyes to look at her, meeting her eyes that are so close to me. In those eyes, the previous shyness and expectation have quietly faded away at some point, replaced by a triumphant and increasingly strong mischievous smile, just like a cat that successfully stole a fish. Something's wrong, this wine is spiked. That thought cuts through my muddled brain, like a flash of lightning. But it is already too late. A strong sense of weakness sweeps through my whole body. I try to stand up, but only sway uselessly. My arms are so weak I can't even lift them. I struggle to force out a single word, before my vision starts spinning wildly. The moment right before I completely black out, I vaguely see Ye Zhiqiu stand up in my blurry vision. There is a flush on her face mixed with shyness and determined confidence. Her delicate hand reaches for her waist, undoing the tie of that beautiful Hanfu robe. The soft skin on her shoulder glows under the light. She leans down closer to me, her fingers carrying a faint fragrance, brushing against my burning forehead. A soft whisper brushed against my ear. Zhang Wei. The last thing I saw was that triumphant, shy yet bold smile on his lips. I blacked out completely. When I woke up again, I was jolted awake by the harsh sunlight outside the window. My head hurt so bad it felt like it was gonna split. I frowned and forced my eyelids open. My blurry vision slowly came into focus. An unfamiliar crystal ceiling lamp. The bedding under me was super soft. This wasn't the guest room I was staying in. I suddenly realized something. I whipped my head around immediately. Ye Zhiqiu was lying right beside me. Sound asleep? Her jet black hair spread across the pillow like seaweed. Her long lashes rested gently like butterfly wings. The quilt had somehow slipped down to her waist, exposing her bare round shoulders and delicate collarbones. It felt like a bomb went off in my head. I froze up instantly. I even stopped breathing for a second. Bits and pieces of last night's memories flooded my mind. Her graceful dancing moves, how weirdly drunk she was, the robe ribbon she undid herself, and the blurry yet burning feeling in the dark. Just at that moment, the person next to me let out a soft whimper and slowly woke up. She met my shocked and flustered gaze. She was stunned at first. Then her cheeks flushed bright red right away. She subconsciously pulled the quilt up a bit higher to cover her chin, leaving only her glistening eyes exposed. Blinking at me nonstop, there was shyness in her eyes, fluster, and a hint of barely noticeable cunning. Zhang Wei, ever since the day you helped me clean, I've decided you have to take responsibility for me. For a lifetime.